Hello there, and welcome. I'm so glad you're here tonight, in this peaceful space. Think back, 2,000 years ago tonight, the same quiet darkness wrapped around the world, the same stars watched over sleeping fields. Tonight, let's follow the silent path of water, a gentle journey shaped by ancient hands. So settle in, let your head rest heavy on the pillow, let your shoulders soften. Release the day with a deep breath, and as you exhale, let your thoughts drift away. Now, let's begin. Tonight, I'll share some remarkable secrets of ancient water engineering. We'll explore the quiet genius of aqueducts, one gentle fact at a time. And if you drift off before we're finished, that's perfectly okay. If nights like these help you unwind, subscribe, and I'll be here whenever you need me. Now, let's begin. Picture the careful hands of Roman surveyors, measuring the land under a warm sky. They gave their aqueducts a slope so gentle, so exact, that water could simply drift forward, guided by nothing more than the soft pull of gravity. In some channels, the descent was only a few inches over 100 yards, a whisper of movement. This floating precision was achieved with ancient tools of almost magical accuracy, allowing the water to carry itself across miles without a single pump. The quiet flow was a testament to human patience and respect for the Earth's own rhythms. When the path crossed a deep valley, the engineers did not disturb the natural peace. They raised soaring arches, tier upon tier, like a stone bridge for water alone. The Pont du Gard still stands today, built from massive blocks of limestone fitted together so softly that no mortar was needed. The stones held each other with a gentle, knowing strength, allowing the water to glide steadily above the trees in a graceful rhythm, undisturbed by the world below. Long before the Romans on the island of Crete, the Minoans wove their own quiet miracle. They laid terracotta pipes beneath the ground, using the natural pressure of the earth to nudge the water along. These smooth clay conduits carried a silent, rhythmic stream into the coastal palaces. The water moved like a whispered secret, flowing without any rush, just a steady, calm journey through the dark, safe earth. When the water finally arrived in Rome, it reached a grand distribution hub, the Castellum Divisorium. Here, the flowing current was softly divided into 3 separate branches, like a gentle river parting into quiet streams. One branch filled the public fountains, where people would gather and speak in hushed tones. Another flowed to the great baths, bringing warmth and cleanliness. The third slipped quietly into private homes, a secret gift for gardens and kitchens. This careful division ensured that the city could breathe with water, every part nourished without haste. For much of its journey, the water traveled in subterranean tunnels, tucked away from the warm sun and the restless winds. These hidden stone paths wrapped the flowing stream in cool darkness. Like a peaceful sanctuary, shielded from light, the water stayed pure and chill, gliding through the earth's embrace. I like to think of it as a secret river, patiently following the gentle slope, unseen but vital, carrying life across the countryside. A quiet miracle beneath the ancient soil. Consider the ancient Persian engineers who turned their gaze to the distant mountains, where water whispered beneath the surface in secret springs. They carved long, sloping tunnels deep into the cool, embracing earth, a hidden network of passageways to transport groundwater across the arid desert. In this subterranean realm, the water moved with a silent, steady float, cocooned from the sun's harsh heat and the thirsty winds that swept the sands above. The tunnels were like dark, velvety arteries, their walls damp and cool, cradling the precious liquid as it journeyed for miles through the quiet dark. This ingenious system allowed life to bloom in unforgiving landscapes, a testament to the gentle power of human curiosity and nature's hidden rhythms. Every drop was a cherished traveler, guided home through miles of shadow to sustain oases and settlements. This reverence for water's tranquil path was carried forward by Roman engineers, who approached the task with a methodical tenderness. In their hands, a tool called the curated became an instrument of calm, a long wooden bench with a water-filled groove at its center. They placed it across the landscape, waiting for the water to settle into a glassy stillness that revealed the truest level. This slow, deliberate process ensured that the aqueducts would never rush the flow too quickly or let it stagnate, maintaining a serene and steady current. The curated was like a compass of peace,
guiding the water's journey with a gentle, invisible hand. It was a quiet dialogue between the engineer and the earth, shaping a flow that was both tranquil and enduring.
After all that careful leveling, the water arrived at immense public baths, where the air was warm and thick with a soft, drifting mist. Imagine stepping into that hushed, moist atmosphere, the noise of the outside world fading away with every step. These spaces were crafted for quiet reflection, where the gentle murmur of flowing water served as a balm for tired minds. Sunlight often streamed through high windows, catching the vapor and casting a dreamlike, golden haze across the marble halls. The steam rose in lazy spirals, wrapping visitors in a comforting embrace of warmth. The gentle lapping of water against the pool edges became a lullaby for the senses, a quiet reminder of nature's rhythm within human creation. To keep this serene flow pure, Roman builders lined many aqueducts with a waterproof cement called opus sigillum. This remarkable mixture of crushed pottery and lime created a smooth, rosy-hued coating that sealed every crack. The surface was as slick as polished stone, allowing water to glide over it with effortless grace, never seeping into the soil below. The pinkish tone held a quiet beauty, like a blush of dawn preserved in shadow, hidden beneath the flowing current. This lining was a perfect marriage of utility and artistry, a silent guardian that cradled each drop in a gentle, rosy embrace. Century after century, it held true, ensuring the water's pilgrimage remained protected. Now, the legacy of these systems lives on in the quiet, weathered ruins that still grace the landscape, cloaked in soft green moss and tangled vines. These remnants are not mere stones, but echoes of an ancient song where water once hummed through arches and tunnels. They serve as a peaceful reminder of the harmony between human creativity and the earth's gentle rhythms, a partnership that sustains civilizations. Walking beside these old aqueducts, you can almost feel the cool shade and hear the faint whisper of flowing water. It is a sensation of deep time, a connection to the patient hands and curious minds that shaped them. In their silent, steadfast presence, they teach us that the most enduring works are those that flow with the natural world, not against it. Picture the warm, sun-drenched hills of the Roman Empire, where water was a treasure to be guided with infinite care. The engineers understood that if a single drop was lost to the thirsty soil, it was like losing a note from a carefully composed song. And so they perfected a remarkable material called opus sigillum, a waterproof lining made from crushed terracotta and mortar. When smoothed along the channel, this plaster took on a soft, rosy hue, like the blush of a distant sunset. Imagine running your hand over that cool, sealed surface as the clear water drifted steadily onward, held safely within its gentle embrace and never allowed to stray. Now, to keep the water moving in that peaceful, unhurried way, a sense of perfect balance was needed, and for that the Romans turned to a tool called the curates. Picture a long wooden beam with a groove running down its center, meant to hold a shallow pool of water. If the water sat level, the beam itself was exactly horizontal. This simple yet brilliant device allowed surveyors to carve out a gradient so fine it seems almost miraculous, a slope so delicate that the water might descend only a few centimeters for every kilometer it traveled. With such precision, the stream was never rushed, never tumbling. It simply glided forward in a silent, steady journey. When the water's path encountered a deep valley, the Romans sometimes lifted it across on the shoulders of a bridge, and nowhere is this more breathtaking than the Pont du Gard in southern France. Let your mind wander to this towering structure of pale limestone, rising in 3 graceful tiers above a quiet river. The astonishing thing is that not a single drop of mortar holds these massive stones together. Each block was shaped with such meticulous care that it rests against its neighbors in a quiet, enduring embrace, as if they've been leaning against one another for centuries, simply trusting. High on the topmost arcade, the water channel still lies, carrying its silent cargo across the green valley far below. But occasionally the valleys were so deep that even a soaring bridge wasn't the answer. Deep beneath the surface, in the cool shadows of the earth, the Romans employed a different kind of marvel, something called an inverted siphon. Instead of flowing across open air, the water was funneled into sealed lead pipes that descended one side of the valley. Its own weight pushed it downward, and then, as if taking a slow, rhythmic breath, the natural pressure gently lifted it back up the other slope. The water never fought gravity. It simply yielded and was raised again in a hidden, quiet cycle, a pulse of life moving through the dark. And now let your thoughts travel even farther east, to ancient Persia, where a different kind of hidden journey was taking place. In the dry, sun-scorched deserts, Persian engineers carved gentle, sloping tunnels deep underground, a system known as the Qanet, like secret veins. These channels carried water from distant mountain springs, guiding it unseen beneath the burning dunes. Because the water traveled in the cool darkness below, it stayed fresh and clear, untouched by the scorching sun. Imagine the joy in a thirsty village when, after miles of silent travel, the first glimmer of that life-giving water finally appeared, a quiet gift emerging from the earth. The Aqua Claudia was one of the most magnificent veins of Rome, stretching over 69 kilometers from the cool springs of the Anio Valley. Imagine a long procession of arches marching across the countryside, their tall, rhythmic silhouettes carved against the pale morning sky. Each arch carried a steady, untroubled stream of water hidden within its stone embrace, a quiet pulse that never stopped. The water traveled with patient gravity, sliding along a channel so precisely graded that it flowed as evenly as a whispered breath. As the structure drew closer to the city, the arches rose higher, becoming a majestic framework that delivered fresh, crystalline water straight into the bustling heart of the empire. It was a gift of mountains and distance, turned into a gentle constant by human hands. Public fountains, known as lacus, were scattered throughout Roman neighborhoods like small, welcoming sanctuaries. You could hear the soothing murmur of water before you even rounded the corner, a soft and continuous sound that cooled the air and calmed the mind. These stone basins were worn smooth by countless hands, each one a communal hearth of liquid light where neighbors gathered not just to fill their clay pots, but to pause and share quiet conversations. The water flowed endlessly, clear and cold, a luxury available to everyone from the grandest senator to the simplest laborer. Children played at the edges, the elderly rested on nearby steps, and the whole community moved to the gentle rhythm of the fountain's song. It was a place of connection, where the city's pulse could be felt in the simple act of drawing water together. Along the aqueduct routes, engineers built settling tanks called piscinae, quiet chambers where the water could rest and reveal its truest clarity. Imagine a deep stone pool hidden from the sun, where the stream slowed to an almost imperceptible glide. Any silt or fine sand that had traveled from the distant hills would lose its momentum here, drifting softly downward through the still water until it settled on the floor. This natural filtration was so patient, so thorough, that by the time the water continued its journey, it sparkled with the pristine brightness of a mountain spring. The piscinae required no moving parts, no human tending, just the simple wisdom of letting nature clean itself in the dark. What emerged was water so pure it seemed to hold the memory of the pristine valleys from which it came. Beneath the city streets, a vast hidden network of lead and terracotta pipes wove like quiet arteries through the earth. This whole system relied on the gentle authority of gravity, pulling water down from the towering aqueducts into distribution tanks called castella. These small, sturdy reservoirs acted as beating hearts for each neighborhood, partitioning the flow and guiding it softly toward private homes, public baths, and the ever-singing fountains. Water moved through the pipes with no loud machinery, just the whispering hush of a system so brilliantly designed that it functioned without force. Each pipe was set at a precise incline, allowing the liquid to glide forward in a steady, unhurried march. The city hummed above, unaware of the silent rivers sliding just beneath its stones, delivering life with every pulse. The great baths of the ancient world were more than just places to wash. They were sanctuary spaces wrapped in warm, steam-filled air. Imagine stepping into a vast hall where the light filtered softly through high windows, catching the gentle rise of vapor above meticulously tiled walls and shimmering pools. Here, the brilliant engineering of the aqueducts merged seamlessly with the art of relaxation. Hypocaust systems warmed the floors so thoroughly that even the stones radiated a comforting embrace. The water, drawn from the aqueducts and heated in great bronze boilers, filled the basins with an invitation to sink into perfect stillness. Bathers moved through the chambers with slow, deliberate ease, surrounded by the timeless atmosphere of warmth and quiet murmurings, a testament to how innovation can craft the deepest calm. And if you're still drifting with me, the waters of history have one more quiet secret to share. If you're enjoying this, a like helps another night owl find their way here too. Imagine the quiet genius of ancient hands. The Romans discovered a way to let water flow through deep valleys without struggle. They used something called an inverted siphon, a gentle method relying on the weight of the water itself. By guiding the stream into sealed lead pipes, they allowed it to glide downward with ease. And then, in a soft, natural dance, the water would rise back up to its original level, moved by nothing more than the steady push of its own quiet pressure. To keep this journey peaceful, the engineers carved their aqueducts with a gradient so precise it feels almost like a dream. Over 100 yards, the channel might drop only a few inches, a slope so subtle it was nearly invisible. This careful design let the water drift forward effortlessly, without ever rushing or making a sound. For dozens of miles, it moved like a slow, serene thought across the landscape, a continuous ribbon of calm flowing through the countryside. In the south of France, the Pont du Gard stands as a serene monument to this precision. It crosses the Garden River with 3 tiers of elegant arches, rising like a quiet giant against the sky. Built around 2,000 years ago, this limestone structure was assembled without any mortar or binding agents. Instead, the stones rest upon each other in perfect harmony, their quiet strength holding the form together through the weight of their own perfect fit. It is a silhouette of balance, frozen in time. Deep beneath the bustling city streets, a hidden chamber called the Castellum Divisorium acted as a calming distribution hub. Here, the arriving water was gently received and softly partitioned into different paths. It was a place of quiet separation, where the flow was divided without turbulence or haste. Public fountains, baths, and private homes each received a steady, rhythmic stream of fresh water from this central heart. The whole system breathed with a smooth, unwavering pulse, like a city dreaming peacefully. And long before the Roman arches rose on the island of Crete, the Minoans were shaping their own quiet waterways. Around 2,000 years before the Common Era, they crafted sophisticated systems from terracotta. The pipes they made were smooth and gently tapered, designed to let rainwater glide quietly through the labyrinths of their palaces. It was an early and beautiful harmony between architecture and the natural world. In those ancient halls, you could hear the soft whisper of water, a peaceful voice threading through stone, echoing a calm that still resonates in the quietest corners of our imagination. Imagine the ancient lands of Persia, where the sun was harsh and the air was dry. The people there found a gentle way to bring water from the high mountains. They carved tunnels deep underground, with slopes so soft that the water could almost sleep as it moved. These tunnels kept the water cool and hidden, tucked away from the warm desert air above. It was a secret journey through the earth, a careful drifting of life without losing a single drop to the sky. This was the Qanat system, a quiet, enduring flow that nourished the land in silence. Long ago, Roman engineers worked under the open sky, listening to the land. They used a tool called the curated, a long wooden plank with water levels inside, to sense the Earth's gentle curves. This simple tool helped them map out paths that followed the natural rise and fall of the landscape. The water they carried would drift along these quiet contours, never rushing, always flowing in harmony with the hills. They created a seamless connection from the distant mountains to the heart of the city, as if the land itself whispered the way. It was a dance of measurement and trust, allowing gravity to do its quiet work. The Aqua Claudia was an aqueduct of great beauty, completed long ago in 52 AD. It was loved for the purity of its water, which had a soft, crystalline quality. The water traveled over 40 miles, drifting through the countryside in a sheltered stone channel.
It moved in silence, protected from the world, until it reached the busy heart of Rome. There, it brought a quiet refreshment, a gift from the hills that never lost its clean, cool nature. This aqueduct, a marvel of ancient engineering, carried water with a gentle grace. The stone channel kept it safe, ensuring that no dust or heat could disturb its journey. When it finally arrived, the water was still as pure as when it first left the mountain springs, ready to quench the thirst of a great empire.
Inside many aqueducts, the walls were coated with a special plaster called opus signinum. This was made from crushed pottery and lime, giving it a smooth, warm color. The lining kept the water pure, preventing any leakage or contamination. It was like a protective skin that let the water drift peacefully toward its destination, undisturbed and clean. The touch of this ancient material still whispers of care and craftsmanship. This waterproof plaster was a quiet innovation, a simple mixture that ensured the water's journey was serene. The crushed pottery added a textured warmth, while the lime held everything together in a seamless coat. As the water flowed over this lining, it remained crystal clear, never picking up any impurities. It was a tender embrace for the water, allowing it to travel long distances without ever losing its essential freshness. At the end of their journey, the waters arrived in vast, quiet cisterns. These underground reservoirs were like silent sanctuaries, holding millions of gallons of water. The surface would ripple softly in the dim light, creating a peaceful dance. It was a cool world beneath the bustling streets, a hidden treasure of stillness and refreshment. Here, the water rested, a gentle end to a long and careful journey. These cisterns were carved into the earth, vast caverns of stone that echoed with the soft drip of water. The air was cool and still, carrying the faint scent of ancient minerals. The ripples on the water's surface caught the low light, shimmering like a quiet dream. This subterranean sanctuary held the lifeblood of the city, a secret reservoir that sustained empires without a sound. It was a place where time slowed down, and the water could simply be before it was called upon to serve. In the quiet embrace of ancient times, the Romans discovered a gentle secret hidden in volcanic ash. This pozzolana, when mixed with lime, became a concrete that was not merely waterproof, but a material that grew stronger with each passing century. A soft chemical bond formed, a silent conversation between elements, deepening the stone's resolve against the press of water. Their aqueducts, cradled by this enduring embrace, traced their paths across the landscape. They withstood the soft, persistent kiss of rushing currents, carrying the pulse of the city through the silent corridors of history. Even now, fragments of these channels stand, dreaming of ancient waters that once flowed through their veins. To ensure the water's journey was never rushed, Roman engineers sculpted the land with a precise, tender gradient. Imagine a slope so subtle that for every 100 meters, the channel might descend only a few centimeters. This was a whisper of decline, a soft caress guiding the flow forward in a rhythmic, calming consistency. The water drifted like a sleepwalker, its surface unbroken by ripples toward the distant city centers. It echoed the slow breathing of the resting earth, a steady heartbeat that never hurried, never halted, simply existed in peaceful, perpetual motion through the golden light of day and under the silver watch of night. Standing across a quiet valley in France, the Pont du Gard is a dream in stone, a masterpiece of symmetry rising in 3 tiers. Its massive stones were carved with such precision that they fit together in a soft, seamless embrace, no mortar needed as a bond. Each block holds another in a gentle, silent hug, as if remembering a time before words. The arches float above the river, carrying the weight of water in a silent, graceful harmony, a lullaby of engineering where stone and sky meet. This bridge endures not by force, but by the peacefulness of its design, a sleeping giant that cradles the memory of flowing water through centuries of stillness. When valleys dipped too deeply, the engineers trusted in the quiet laws of physics. They used inverted siphons, a gentle application of weight, to guide the water on. The soft pressure pushed it down one slope, and then, by its own peaceful insistence, up the other side in a graceful arc. Through lead pipes the water glided without effort, looping like a ribbon of light through the stillness of the valley. It was a silent, circular journey, a dance of descent and ascent, proving that even the deepest hollows could be crossed with a whisper. The water flowed on, unaware of its own elegant journey, simply following the quiet call of the city. Within the heart of Rome, vast settling tanks called piscinae waited like tranquil ponds. Here, the water rested, letting the sediment drift slowly to the bottom in a peaceful, almost dreamlike filtration process. As the silt sank, the water above grew crystal clear, shimmering with a soft internal light, a silent purification. This final transformation meant that at every public fountain, citizens were greeted by a liquid mirror, cool and pristine. It reflected the sky, the faces of the weary, and the quiet perfection of nature's balance, a moment of pure, calm transparency in the bustling life of the ancient city. So as you rest, imagine these ancient waters flowing under starlight, through stone and lead, into basins of calm, carrying the whispers of a civilization long past, yet still echoing in the stillness of your mind. Deep beneath the golden deserts of ancient Persia, the Qanats were hidden galleries carved into the cool, dark earth. These subterranean rivers were designed to prevent the water from evaporating in the warm desert air, keeping it safe in a silent, protected slumber. They flowed beneath the shimmering sands, a secret network of life that moved without a sound. The cool, moist darkness was a gentle cradle for the water, away from the harsh light above. This ancient wisdom nurtured the land, a quiet pulse that sustained gardens and cities through the long, dry years. The Qanats still whisper their secrets today, a testament to the harmony between human need and the deep, dreaming earth. In the heart of ancient Rome, water was distributed through a complex system of castella divisoria, or distribution basins. These basins acted like quiet hearts, pumping life into the city with a steady, gentle rhythm. From these centers, water flowed softly into public baths, into private homes, and through ornate fountains that danced in the sunlight. It was a graceful distribution of liquid life, nourishing every corner without a sound. The city breathed with this unseen pulse, a serene circulation that connected all things in a web of cool refreshment. Imagine the soft murmur of water in the pipes, a constant lullaby that accompanied the Romans through their daily lives, a reminder of nature's gift brought into the bustling urban heart. Many aqueducts were designed as covered channels, shielding the water from the golden sunlight. This kept the water cool and fresh as it traveled across vast distances, high on arches that soared through the landscape. It created a serene, shaded environment where the water could move in a dim, peaceful silence. The arches stretched across the land like sleepy giants, carrying their precious cargo hidden from the day. In that quiet darkness, the water whispered secrets to the stone, a timeless conversation flowing onward. The covered channels were like long, quiet hallways, where the only sound was the gentle lapping of water against the ancient masonry, a soothing rhythm that echoed through the ages. The Nymphea were lavish monuments dedicated to the nymphs of the water, adorned with soft carvings of greenery and flowing cascades. These spaces served as quiet sanctuaries where citizens could pause and listen. They listened to the rhythmic music of falling water, a gentle melody that soothed the soul. The sound was like nature's own lullaby, echoing off the marble and moss. In these havens, time slowed down and the world forgot its hurry for a moment of pure peace. The soft spray of the fountains kissed the air with a cool mist, and the sight of water tumbling over stone brought a deep sense of calm. These were places for reflection, where the mind could drift like the water itself, aimless and serene. In the ancient world, water engineers were held in high regard, viewing their work as a way to bring the soothing harmony of nature into urban landscapes. They wove streams through stone and channeled rivers into the heart of civilization. Their legacy remains in the soft moss and weathered stone of the arches that still drift across the European countryside. These enduring structures are like sleepy sentinels of a bygone era, whispering tales of ingenuity and care. Now they stand as quiet reminders of how water can bring life and peace to a thirsty world. The engineer's vision was to merge the wild flow of nature with the ordered beauty of cities, creating a balance that still resonates in the gentle arches and the green moss that clings to them. Their work was a meditation, a slow dance with the elements that left a permanent mark of tranquility on the world. Long ago, the Romans discovered a quiet gift from the earth, a soft volcanic ash called pozzolana. This fine dust came from ancient eruptions settled in the hills near the sea. When they mixed it with lime and water, something serene began. A slow chemical union took place, allowing the mixture to harden even underwater. This gentle reaction created a concrete that was incredibly durable and strong. With it, they built massive arches that seemed to drift across valleys and riverbeds, holding the weight of the sky. Those arches still stand today, whispering the secret of that alchemy, a bond between fire and water that time has not undone. The water flowed through them with a quiet, eternal patience. It was as if the earth had offered a piece of its ancient fire to help life flow gently across the land. To guide the water on its tranquil journey, Roman engineers gave it an almost invisible path, a precise slope called a gradient. They measured the land with careful eyes, ensuring the aqueduct dropped only a few centimeters over 100 meters. This slow, deliberate decline meant the water did not rush or tumble. It simply glided forward, with a quiet, rhythmic persistence like the calm breath of the world. The flow was so gentle you could hardly see it move, yet it traveled for miles, never stopping, never hurrying, a soft and steady pulse that carried life to cities and fields. This careful balance kept the water in a state of peaceful motion, a quiet song beneath the stone. It was an art of patience written in stone and slope. In the south of France, there is a bridge that seems to float between earth and sky. The Pont du Gard rises above the Garden River in 3 graceful tiers of golden limestone arches. Built in the 1st century AD, it was part of an aqueduct that carried water over 50 kilometers to the city of Nîmes. When the sunlight catches the stone, the arches glow warmly, like a memory made solid. It is a place of stillness and wonder, where the ancient flow once whispered high above the river. Even now, standing beneath those arches, you can almost hear the soft murmur of water, still nourishing the dreams of a long-ago world. The water traveled that great distance with a quiet dedication, a silent lifeline across the countryside. Far from the Roman arches, in the warm, dry landscapes of Persia, another kind of water path was carved. These were called qanats, gently sloping tunnels dug deep into the earth. They reached down to the hidden groundwater, that cool reserve beneath the sun-baked surface. The water journeyed through the darkness, mile after mile, sheltered from the heat. Not a single drop was lost to the thirsty desert air. Emerging at last near a village or a garden, it arrived fresh and cool, a quiet miracle from the underworld. This ancient engineering used gravity and patience to bring life where it seemed impossible, a gentle stream born from the earth's own pulse. These qanats still flow in some places, whispering of a time when water was coaxed from the dark in the most tender way. There was another quiet wonder, the inverted siphon. Sometimes the land dipped into a valley, and a bridge seemed too grand or too high. The Romans learned to let the water fall gently down one side, and then rise again on the other, using nothing but its own weight. This was a soft, looping motion, a fluid dance of pressure and grace. The water dipped and then climbed without losing its calm direction. It was as if the water paused to rest in the valley bottom before continuing its journey uphill, defying the ordinary pull of gravity. The water would descend into the valley, then rise again, a slow, deep breath that required no bridge, only a humble pipe and the wisdom of pressure. This was a quiet testament to how deeply the ancients understood the gentle poetry of moving water. Deep beneath the city, the water arrives at a quiet crossroads called the Castella Divisoria. These distribution basins were the gentle heartbeats of the Roman water system. Here the clear stream would softly part into separate channels, each one carrying a steady pulse of life. One path would guide the flow to public fountains that sparkled in the sun. Another would slip toward the grand baths, filling them with warmth and steam. And a quiet trickle found its way to private homes, a hidden gift behind the walls. The water moved like a calm thought, unhurried, always balanced, never rushing. Imagine a ribbon of cold clarity winding through the hills, over 90 kilometers long. The Aqua Marcia, built so long ago in 140 BC, was cherished for bringing the freshest water to Rome. It traveled from the distant mountains, sliding through open countryside, its surface catching the pale light of dawn. The water remained pure and remarkably cold. A sip tasted like mountain snow and distant springs. When it finally reached the city, it felt like a breath of wild nature carried gently into the streets. People would gather, simply to feel that crisp coolness on their skin, a small moment of refreshment that spoke of faraway places.
Roman engineers moved across the land with a quiet tool called the curated. This long wooden level held a groove of water, a tiny mirror that found the earth's true shape. They would rest it on the soil and watch the liquid settle, its surface perfectly flat, perfectly still. With this simple, almost meditative device, they traced the gentle curves of hills and valleys. It was like listening to the planet's own breath, mapping its slow inclines, feeling the world tilt beneath their feet. The water in the groove did not hurry, it just whispered the direction of flow. In that calm observation, the grand aqueducts were born from a floating, silent precision.
Within the city walls, the journey continued through a hidden world of clay and lead. Pipes of terracotta, warm like baked earth, and slender lead tubes formed a quiet subterranean network. They lay beneath the cobblestones, out of sight, carrying the water through darkness with a soft, constant murmur. If you placed your ear to the ground on a still night, you might almost hear it, a low rustle moving from street to street, like a secret lullaby. These veins delivered hydration to the empire's heart, feeding fountains and kitchens with a silent, faithful pulse. The water was never loud, never demanding, it just kept flowing, a tender stream in the earth's embrace. The vast public baths rose like gentle sanctuaries, filled with the endless gift of the aqueducts. Stepping into those halls, you entered a world of soft steam and drifting warmth. The sound of splashing water echoed against marble walls, creating a peaceful atmosphere where every worry could dissolve. Pools of different temperatures awaited, from the cool plunge that quickened the spirit to the hot bath that softened every muscle. The air itself felt thick and kind, wrapping around you like a blanket. Here, amidst the quiet lapping of water and the hush of bathers, the mind could wander freely. The body rested deeply, carried by the simple, ancient comfort of flowing water. Just drifting along the aqueduct's ancient path. The water carries you now, deeper into stillness. The Romans had a quiet understanding with stone and water. They learned to shape the arch so perfectly that it could carry a river through the sky. A steady, rhythmic line of water floating high above a valley. Using stones carved with patient precision and just a whisper of mortar, they built bridges like the Pont du Gard, which still stands in a calm, dreamlike pose after 2,000 years. It rests there, ancient and silent, as if it has simply been dreaming all this time. To guide the water on its journey, Roman engineers relied on a tool called the curated, a long wooden level that lay gently upon the earth. With it, they measured a slope so slight you could hardly perceive it, often no more than a few inches across an entire mile. This faint, tender incline allowed gravity to coax the water forward, a soft, unhurried drift from distant mountain springs toward the waking city. The water did not rush or tumble, it simply glided, as if following a quiet breath. And much of that journey was spent in darkness, cool and hidden. More than 80% of the aqueduct network actually flowed through stone tunnels buried beneath the quiet earth, far from the warm sun. The famous arched bridges carried the water for only a small portion of the total distance, perhaps 10 or 20 miles out of every 100. Beneath the soil, the water remained chilled and pure, insulated from the day's heat, moving through a secret world where moss and shadow kept it company. After many miles of gliding through valleys and beneath hills, the water arrived at the city's heart, where a peaceful reservoir awaited. This distribution tank, called a castellum divisorium, was a large, calm basin where the flow paused, as if gathering a deep breath. From that serene pool, the water was delicately divided into 3 separate streams, one for the public fountains, so everyone could drink, one for the grand baths where steam rose softly into the air, and one for the homes of those who could afford such a quiet luxury. Each stream was a slender, purposeful path of life. Finally, the Romans channeled this gift through pipes of lead and terracotta, joining them with warm sealing joints so no precious drop would seep away. These pipes weaved beneath the streets, creating a subtle, rhythmic pulse of water that moved constantly through the city. Day and night, a quiet drumbeat of refreshment flowed to the fountains, the kitchens and the baths, a gentle, enduring promise that the water would always be there, cool and clear, just when it was needed. Long ago, ancient engineers faced a challenge that seemed impossible. They needed to carry water across deep ravines, but bridges were too tall to build. So they created something remarkable called inverted siphons. The water would glide down a steep slope, surrendering to gravity, and then, with its own quiet pressure, it would rise again on the other side. It was a silent, steady journey, as if the water remembered its way home. That gentle pressure, constant and unyielding, carried life across the valleys without a single sound. It was a dance of physics and grace, unseen but deeply felt. The engineers watched from a distance, knowing that water could conquer heights with patience alone. And then there was the Aqua Claudia, finished by Emperor Claudius in 52 AD. This marvel of patience traveled 43 miles, bringing crystal-clear spring water into the bustling city of Rome. With this water, Rome transformed into a verdant oasis, where fountains murmured and gardens breathed. It sustained a population of almost 1 million souls, providing for their daily needs without fanfare. The water arrived like a gentle blessing, day after day, season after season, weaving life into the city's very fabric. It was a testament to human ingenuity, yet it worked so silently that the city woke to water without a thought. The springs in the hills whispered their secrets, and the aqueduct listened, carrying refreshment to every corner. The journey of water often began at the Caput Aquae, or headwaters, nestled high in forested mountains. These were sacred springs, serene and untouched, surrounded by ancient trees and soft moss. Stone-lined basins cupped the water, holding it like a precious gift before its long descent. These spots were sanctuaries of peace, where the only sounds were the whisper of leaves and the trickle of the spring. From this quiet origin, the water embarked on its patient voyage to the city, carrying the mountain's purest blessing. Imagine the soft murmur of the spring, the way it reflected the sky like a mirror. No rush, no noise, just the beginning of a story written in water. Now imagine the public baths, the crown jewel of Roman engineering. They were heated by a clever system called a hypocaust, where warm air flowed beneath the floors, warming the stone and the water above. People moved through these spaces in a slow, thoughtful rhythm, from steam-filled rooms that opened the pores to plunge pools so cool and clear, they shocked the spirit awake. It was a journey of sensation, designed not just for cleansing but for reflection, for letting the mind wander as the body rested. In those warm, echoing halls, time dissolved into steam and silence. The heat rose quietly from below, like a comforting embrace, and the steam hung in the air like dreams half remembered. Finally, once the water had fulfilled its purpose, it flowed gently into the Cloaca Maxima. This was one of the world's oldest sewage systems, a hidden river moving beneath the city in perpetual silence. It carried away the day's remnants from living quarters, drifting with a steady, unhurried current. The water wound its way through the darkness and eventually slipped into the Tiber River, joining the broader flow without protest. It was a quiet, respectful farewell, a return to nature's larger river, completing the cycle with grace. The city above never felt its work, but it was a silent guardian. The Tiber accepted it, blending old water with new, as it had for centuries. And so the water's journey ended, a soft loop from mountain to river, cradling the city in its flow. The Romans discovered a quiet kind of magic with their inverted siphons. They let water drift gently downward, and then, through the hidden pressure of its own weight, it would rise again on the other side of a valley. This meant they could cross deep, silent valleys without building towering stone bridges. The water simply traveled through a pipe, following the contours of the land, a soft and patient journey through the earth. Imagine that water moving down, then up, a quiet pulse in the darkness, connecting hills without a sound. It was a clever, almost invisible engineering, allowing the flow to move undisturbed, a secret rhythm beneath the landscape. To keep this flow so steady, the Roman engineers mapped out the gentlest of slopes. Sometimes the drop was only a few inches over 100 feet of distance. This subtle descent, almost invisible to the eye, was crucial. It allowed the water to glide forward in a rhythmic, unhurried stream, without ever rushing or slowing too much. This careful calculation kept the entire journey peaceful, a constant, soothing motion toward the waiting city. The water moved as if in a dream, sustained by this precise, gentle incline, a lulling cadence that ensured it arrived without disturbance. The Pont du Gard in France still stands as a quiet dream in stone. Here, massive blocks of limestone were fitted together without any mortar, their edges touching with such precision that they have held for centuries. 3 tiers of arches rise above the river, creating a floating silhouette against the sky, a soft and graceful presence in the landscape. At the top, a lined channel once carried the water, so gently that it seemed almost still, a mirror reflecting the clouds as it moved southward. You can almost feel the patience in those stones, the ancient hands that placed them, each one a note in a silent symphony. Once the water reached Rome, it was guided through a system of pipes called fistulae. These were made of lead and terracotta, running beneath the streets like the city's own veins. They directed the water into public fountains, where it splashed softly, and into private homes, where it offered a quiet luxury. The sound of running water filled the air, a constant, soothing murmur, a lullaby woven into everyday life. It was the sound of abundance and peace flowing through the heart of the empire. Even in the quietest corners you could hear it, a gentle reminder of the faraway springs that kept the city alive. Before the water could enter the city, it was calmed in a special basin called the Castellum Divisorium. This structure received the main flow from the aqueduct and then divided it into 3 separate branches. One branch went to the public basins, another to the baths, and a third to private residences. This careful division ensured a balanced, tranquil supply for all. It was a moment of quiet order, where the wild water from the hills was tamed and shared with gentle fairness. Here, the water rested for a beat, collecting itself before embarking on its final, silent journey through the city's arteries. Long before the Romans, on the sunlit island of Crete, the Minoans dreamed a gentle dream of water. They shaped terracotta pipes with a tender precision, designing them with a vacuum effect so that the water might breathe. This clever, quiet design prevented the harsh hammer of sudden pressure. The water flowed instead with a seamless, almost musical grace, winding through the palace halls like a soft river of silk. Picture the coolness of those ancient corridors, the walls washed with faded frescoes, and the only sound is the feather-light whisper of water passing by. It never rushed, it never clanged. It was a lullaby in the stone, carrying life from room to room, a secret gift of calm from a people who loved the sea. Even the sunlight that fell through the open roofs seemed to dance upon its surface without a ripple. Far across the waters, in the sun-baked heart of Persia, another kind of water wisdom was born. The canats are gentle, sloping tunnels carved deep into the welcoming earth. They reach out like slender arms to the mountain aquifers, drawing water from the cool springs. Hidden from the blazing desert sun, the water travels in a dark, sheltered gallery, kept cool and shimmering. As it emerges, it sparkles like liquid starlight, feeding gardens and pools that bloomed in the dry land. The earth itself became a protector, holding the water in a quiet embrace, keeping it pure and refreshingly chilled. The digging was an act of quiet faith, knowing the water would follow the gentle slope home. Centuries later, the Romans approached water with a quiet precision of their own. They used a tool called the curates, a long wooden plank with a groove filled with water. By peering into that still groove, they could see if the earth was truly level, as calm water mirrors the sky. This was a slow, methodical dance of measurement, step by patient step across the landscape. The water was allowed to wander in a straight, peaceful line, following the land's gentle contour without strain. There was no hurry in this work, only a deep trust in the pull of gravity and the stillness of a water's surface. The curates was a philosopher's tool, teaching that the truest path is often the one taken slowly and with care. As the water flowed, it carried with it the memory of the land's shape, a silent agreement between the heavens and the earth. Many of the Roman aqueducts were built primarily underground, drifting through the cool darkness of stone tunnels for miles. Away from the piercing sun, the water moved in a velvety silence, protected from the harsh evaporation above. In the deep, shaded channels, the flow remained pure and untouched, as if the earth itself were cradling a secret river. The water grew refreshingly chilled in that dark embrace, gathering a profound stillness before emerging again into the light. It was a journey of whispers, a quiet pilgrimage through the hidden veins of the world, where the only sound was the distant echo of dripping water against stone. You could walk for hours beside these tunnels and hear nothing but the soft breath of the earth, a lullaby of damp stone and ancient time. The darkness was not a void, but a gentle blanket, keeping the water safe and sound. And after this long, quiet journey, the water finally arrived at its most peaceful destination. The great Roman baths were sanctuaries of deep relaxation, where the warmth of the steam rose in soft clouds and the water shimmered in the lamplight. The gentle ripple of the pools lapped against the marble, a sound like a slow heartbeat echoing through the halls. These spaces were carved from the noisy city, a refuge for quiet reflection and drifting thoughts. Here, one could float in the embrace of the water, letting the heat soak away the weight of the world. The baths were a dream within the city, a place where time slowed and the soul could rest, cradled in the same ancient water that had traveled so far. Close your eyes and you can almost hear the soft conversations, the gentle laughter, the sighs of contentment. This was the gift of water, a moment of peace handed down through the ages. And even now, as you rest, you can feel that same stillness, that same promise of peace. Come closer, and let me tell you about the water's quiet path. Feel the coolness, the slow movement, the ancient art of flow. Imagine a slope so subtle, only a few inches every 100 yards. The water glides without haste, a quiet ribbon carrying life from distant springs. It moves with a grace that seems almost silent, touching the stone with the lightest of caresses. Into the heart of the city, it flows with a peace that only gravity can give. The Romans knew this secret well. They carved paths so gentle that the water seemed to move on its own, a silent journey over hills and through stone. Each drop follows a delicate incline, as if the earth itself guides it home. From cold, hidden springs, the water travels vast distances, arriving softly into the bustling city. It is a whisper of flow, a testament to patience and precision. Feel that steady, quiet force moving through the ancient land, like a breath of life that never hurries. The gradient is like a soft sigh of the land, guiding the water without a sound. Deep beneath the earth, the channels run cool and dark, lined with opus sigonum, a smooth and waterproof cement. The water stays clear and untouched. The warm sun cannot reach it here, so the journey is shaded and quiet for many miles. It feels like a secret vein, pulsing softly under the ground, carrying the coolness with every gentle current. This underground path is a long, restful sleep for the water, far from the heat and noise. The darkness holds it like a tender hand, guiding it steadily on its way. Imagine the quiet murmur of water flowing through the stone, a lullaby for the earth. It is a cool, dark dream that keeps the water pure and calm. Inside these channels, the water dreams of fountains and baths, of the lives it will soon touch. The Pont du Gard rises high against the sky, 3 tiers of stone standing without mortar. Massive blocks fit together with such precision that the arches seem to float. The water travels across the valley, a silent stream in the air, blending human hands with the natural horizon. It is a breath of stone and water, still and vast, a bridge of whispered engineering. The arches frame the landscape, each one a gentle curve allowing the flow to continue. At the top, the water moves unseen, a quiet pulse that has lasted for centuries. It feels like a dream set in stone, a memory of flow that never fades. The structure hums with a silent music, a harmony of weight and buoyancy. Standing there, you feel the weight of history, the gentle strength of Roman hands. With a curabates, a long wooden level, they measured the earth's tilt with slow care. Inch by inch, they carved steady paths through solid rock and rolling hills. This methodical process felt like a meditation, a quiet shaping of the land for the water's gentle passage. The line holds true. Let your mind sink into the ancient Persian desert, where hands dug long, sloping tunnels into the cool, dark earth. These qanats were hidden veins, silent arteries carrying groundwater from distant highland aquifers. Feel the water drifting, a soft, secret river flowing through the vast, warm desert. It moved unseen, a cool, life-giving whisper feeding peaceful oasis gardens. There palms swayed gently, shadows danced on still pools, and the air was sweet with moisture. A hidden source, a tranquil secret tucked away from the sun, where life bloomed in the quietest of places. Drift deeper into this cool, subterranean embrace, where the water's song is a soft, endless lullaby. Feel its cool breath on your skin, a gentle kiss of life. Picture deep Roman valleys, where the land fell away sharply, and bridges couldn't span the gap. So engineers crafted inverted siphons, a hidden solution carved into the slopes. They let water descend in a smooth, graceful curve, pulled by gravity's soft, persistent hand. It flowed down into the depth, and then, like a gentle breath, it floated back up the other side. An undulating path, a hidden, rhythmic dance beneath the ancient landscape, steady and calm. The water moved in a soft, continuous sigh through the pipes, unseen but deeply felt, sustaining life across the divide. Listen to its muffled, flowing song, a quiet pulse in the earth. These were the Nymphea, lush, shaded grottos where the world outside could not reach. Here water trickled softly over cool stone carvings, its sound a soothing murmur, a gentle balm for weary souls. The air was damp and fresh, filled with the scent of wet moss and ferns, a sweet earthy perfume. In these tranquil havens, time slowed to the rhythm of dripping water, each drop a soft note in a quiet symphony. It was a place to drift, to sigh, to let the world melt away into a peaceful, liquid dream. Breathe deeply of this cool, moist air, let it wash over you like a tender, soothing stream carrying you to stillness. The life of these waters depended on quiet, rhythmic labor, a silent devotion. Workers with steady, patient hands cleared the soft silt and smoothed the channel walls. Their movements were a repetitive prayer, a gentle touch keeping the currents free. For centuries, this constant care ensured the life-giving flow drifted undisturbed, a deep, sustaining pulse through the earth. Imagine footsteps echoing softly in the tunnels, the brush of tools against stone, a timeless ritual of preservation. Their labor was a silent, soothing rhythm, a lullaby for the flowing water, a secret service to the water's quiet song, keeping the pulse steady. This was the heartbeat of the aqueducts, a soft, eternal thrum of care. Many ancient aqueducts were carved directly into the soft limestone landscape, a seamless harmony of stone and stream. The water traveled in a hushed, protected corridor deep within the Earth's cool embrace. It was a silent vein, a dark, winding passage where the stream whispered to the stone in a language older than words. Hidden from the scorching sun and gusting wind, the water flowed on, untouched and pure. Feel the stillness there, the deep, calm coolness, a sheltered journey where the world above melted away into a soft, eternal murmur. Rest now in this silent, flowing dream, where the water's touch is a gentle, endless caress, lulling you to sleep. Let it carry you into the deep, quiet night. And now, a softer breath of wonder. Feel the weight of ancient stone, warm under a quiet sun. The Pont du Gard arches across the French landscape, a curve so gentle you could almost miss the genius within. For every 300 feet it travels, the massive structure descends just a single inch, a whisper of slope that lets the water drift forward on the soft, steady pull of gravity alone. Picture a deep valley cradled in silence. To cross it, Roman engineers gave the water a secret path, a sealed lead pipe known as an inverted siphon. The water would feel itself float downward, surrendering to the earth, and then, by the hushed rhythm of pressure, it would gently rise again on the other side, a quiet, unseen dance. In the heart of ancient Rome, there flowed a gift called the Aqua Virgo, a vein of cool, crystal water. It traveled for miles, not under the open sky, but through a ribbon of underground tunnels. Here, wrapped in the deep chill of the dark earth, it was forever shielded from the sun's warm touch, arriving as a cold, pure secret. Travel further still to the arid plains of ancient Persia. Here, water ran through the Qanat, a system of sloping galleries like quiet veins in the earth. The life-giving flow was hidden, drifting through the cool, dark ground. This silent journey in the deep earth kept the water safe, a secret, nourishing whisper that never lost itself to the thirsty, open air. Before the water could reach the city, it needed a moment of absolute stillness. So they built quiet chambers called pistonae, settling tanks where the flow could slow and rest. Imagine the water drifting into a calm, deep pool, its journey paused. In this soft, suspended silence, every grain of sand and tiny pebble would slowly, gently sink, leaving only perfect clarity to continue on, a quiet surrender, a silent settling, just like your body now, sinking deeper into the soft darkness of rest. In the soft hush of the ancient city, there was a silent guardian of water, the Castellum Divisorum, or water castle. It stood as a deep, still basin where the aqueduct's cool flow would gently pool. From this quiet center, the water was divided into 3 tender streams with a precision that felt almost like a whisper. One stream shimmered its way to the public fountains, a soft song in the sunlight. Another drifted warmly toward the great baths, a promise of comfort. And the third slipped modestly into the private homes, a secret nourishing the evening. It was a silent act of sharing, a vast yet intimate gift to all the city, flowing like a soft promise kept in the deep stone. Out in the open fields beneath the vast sky, the architects would lay down a tool of quiet precision, the chorobates. It was a long wooden level, almost like a still outstretched arm, measuring the earth's soft curves. With this they could trace a line that descended so slowly, so gently, that the water would never rush. It moved with the patience of a deep, slow exhale, a constant and tender flow from the hills to the heart of the city. The path was a secret agreement between the land and the water, mapped in whispers. The architects walked this route in silence, feeling the ground's gentle breath, ensuring the water's journey would be a soft, unbroken dream. The ancient builders worked with a deep, gray powder from the earth, a volcanic ash called pozzolana. It was a cement that held a quiet wonder. It could set and harden even underwater, transforming into stone in the still, wet darkness. The aqueducts built with this material have endured for centuries, their arches weathering the soft passage of time. They stand as vast, silent markers, a deep gray testament to patient craft. The water once flowed through them, a soft whisper within the stone, and now they remain, holding the memory of that gentle current. This cement was a secret of the volcanoes, a deep and lasting bond that held the water's path for ages, silent and strong. Step into the ancient baths, and you would feel a deep, warm embrace. They were sanctuaries of water and steam, places not just for cleansing but for quiet social drifting. Vast volumes of water flowed beneath the heated floors and through the walls, creating a hazy, humid atmosphere of peace. The air was soft with moisture, a gentle fog that wrapped around every soul. Here, in the deep warmth, the noise of the world fell away, and there was only the still, soothing sigh of water and steam. The rising steam was a quiet sigh, and the trickle of water a soft lullaby, inviting deep rest and reflection. This was a warm, wet haven, a peaceful retreat. Along the quiet, sun-warmed hills of the Mediterranean, the old aqueducts still trace the land's slow contours. Their stone arches are broken, but their path remains a deep, silent witness. They remind us of a time when humanity learned to move with the water's fluid grace, to build in harmony with the natural world. The water is gone, but the stones hold a soft, still memory. It is a lesson written in the landscape, a quiet testament to patience and the gentle art of following the earth's own breath. These stone channels are a deep, enduring harmony, a silent, gentle reminder of the fluid grace we have quietly lost in the rush of time. The Romans perfected the inverted siphon, a quiet marriage of ingenuity and the earth's own gravity, where water was pushed deep into valleys and then back up again through sealed lead pipes, creating a gentle, rhythmic flow that transformed rugged landscapes into thriving cities. This liquid pulse, born from patient calculations and the pull of the ground, glided through the darkness of lead conduits, a silent river that crossed valleys without a sound, carrying life to fountains and baths where weary souls found solace in its cool, enduring embrace, a gift from the deep places of the world, whispered through stone and shadow. To maintain a steady, drifting current, engineers carved a precise gradient, often dropping only a few inches for every 100 feet of stone, a meticulous balance that made the water flow like a slow ribbon, never hurried, never still, but always moving with a sleepy grace across the ancient landscape. This gentle slope was a language of love between human hands and the horizon, where the water's surface found its own level, mirroring the sky's calm patience, and in this quiet mathematics, the liquid traveled for miles, a shimmering vein of life that whispered over the stone beds under the sun's soft gaze, a tender thread of blue in the green world. The Pont du Gard in France stands as a peaceful testament to ancient precision, where 3 tiers of limestone arches carry water across a wide river valley, built in the 1st century AD, with stones cut so exactly that some sections need no mortar, holding together in a timeless, silent embrace. These pale, sun-warmed arches, rising from the green valley like a prayer in stone, support a channel of water that still seems to flow in the mind's eye, a delicate ribbon balanced on the memory of Roman hands, where every block was placed not just with skill, but with a sense of enduring tenderness, a monument to the quiet hours of labor under the Mediterranean sky. Ancient engineers utilized the curated, a long wooden leveling device that used a still pool of water to find the perfect horizon, allowing them to map the landscape with a soft, unwavering accuracy across hundreds of miles of countryside, a tool of peace and precision. This simple frame, with its calm, reflective surface, became an oracle of balance, reading the earth's own gentle curve to guide the aqueducts. A quiet wooden bench that saw the world in perfect flatness, and in its stillness, the path for water was drawn like a blue destiny, a line of life etched across the rolling hills by the steady gaze of water's own mirror. Many aqueducts traveled through hidden, subterranean tunnels for the majority of their journey. Keeping the water cool and protected from the sun, these quiet galleries kept the liquid drifting in a shaded, temperature-controlled sanctuary until it reached the city gates, a dark, cool vein under the hills. In these silent passages, the water slept in a cool embrace, untouched by the heat of the day, a secret river flowing under the fields and villages, carrying with it the patience of the deep earth. So when it finally emerged into the light, it was as if a hidden world had come to bless the thirsty streets with a pure, cold kiss from the shadowed ground. In Rome, the water rested in a stone heart, the castellum, where currents whispered apart into quiet veins for fountains, homes, and hanging gardens. Volcanic ash became a patient glue, binding the arches that hardened even in water's embrace, so they might hold through ages of soft wind and rain. At Pergamon, water climbed a hidden path uphill, its pulse a hum against the stone, a steady line ascending to the Acropolis's height. The baths were a warm breath in the city's chest, steaming pools where water's murmur lulled all thought into a gentle, shared peace. Still the arches march in light and shade across the land, a floating rhythm that whispers of our ancient need to bring cool water to dry places. And now, as the last echoes of water fade from our story, it's time to let go. You've followed the ancient channels, across hills and through time, and now the quiet beckons. If this journey has helped you find a softer edge of sleep, a simple like would be a silent thank you. And if you subscribe, I'll be here, waiting to guide you back with new stories, whenever you need the calm. So good night. May you dream of water's patient song, the same song that filled Roman baths and climbed Pergamon's hill, flowing now into your rest. Rest now, everything is exactly as it should be.